welcome everyone. I know many of you, this is coming back week after week, which is just delightful, and I'm so appreciative of that. It's my pleasure to welcome you on behalf of Access to Integrative Medicine Health Institute, AIM, and the GW Office of Integrative Medicine and Health, OIMH. And for you may not know, AIM is a nonprofit organization with the mission to provide access to whole person health and wellness in the greater DC area through integrative therapies, education, and research, with a focus on vulnerable and low-income communities, in addition to public education and engagements such as this. And we hope that, sign up for our mailing list, healthaim.org, to Facebook, AIM Health Institute, put those on the chat for you. GWOIMH provides professional development, education, community outreach to improve health and wellness. And you can follow GW Integrative Medicine on Twitter, Instagram, or LinkedIn, or sign up for their newsletter by visiting the website smhs.gwu.edu/OIMH, which is also in the chat. And Janet sends out a great newsletter, highly recommend, great news. So AIM and GWOIMH, we're happy to partner together and offer these experiences for free and plan to keep doing so as long as we want to, and engage in community Fridays at 2 p.m. Eastern. Please, we appreciate your support if you're able to help us keep doing this and help keep them free. And either way, we look forward to continuing to be present with you each week. So I'm so thrilled that today will be, of course, Dr. Kogan will be presenting our COVID information and Q&A. Sorry, having trouble hearing me, Barbara. Maybe this is a bit better. And Dr. Amy Kossoff will be leading us in deep relaxation. And of course, many thanks to Janet and Lee for their organization. So with that, I turn it over to my voice fades. I need to speak near the mic. I am going to hold the mic next to my face. Thank you for letting me know. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Kogan.
All right. Well, we have a lot of updates today. Everything that I'm going to discuss in the next 15 minutes or so, I tried copy and paste in the chat. So if you want a link, it's there. And then the integrative aspect I'm going to also discuss. It doesn't have a link. It's a common sense kind of recommendation. So let's start with the most recent CDC turn of hearts regarding transmission through surfaces, which was frankly shocking to me. I don't know about the rest of you, but just a couple of days ago, and by the way, I think this is one of the most eventful weeks that we've seen in terms of number of things that came up. So CDC stated that the transmission through surfaces is non-existent or very, very low risk, which means that most of the disinfectant attempts we've been doing, like cleaning the groceries, packages arriving in mail, etc., are really not required. Amy and I spoke recently about this, and we both felt like, well, if CDC changes hearts every couple of minutes, I'm not sure if that's how accurate the statement is. So I think the way I'm going to interpret this recommendation is use common sense. So meaning do not engage in a very aggressive practice of disinfecting every inch of everything that ever comes into your house, your shoes, your body, etc. However, use common sense. So I still put aside new packages until the day after. So I simply push them to a side in the house and I don't open them. And the groceries, what we do is we basically stopped being crazy about them. When we bring them in, we're still wearing gloves. We put the boxes that don't need to be open right away straight into pantry or cans or bottles. And then they just sit there for a day or so at least anyway, so it doesn't change our flow. And fruits and vegetables, we simply put them in a refrigerator, and then when we take them out, we wash them straight up. And we still do not buy food that like a bread in an open space, so we would buy it only in a packaged form. Beyond that, I still think that washing hands regularly after being outside, we're still wearing cotton gloves when we go outside and take them off when we get back home and throw them into the washer right away. I still think that's appropriate. But if the feds are correct about this statement, and I don't mean correct for the next 24 hours, I mean really correct, then that's a really good news, because then it literally means that I think slowing the spread is going to be a lot easier than previously thought. So that's that. The second big piece of news is a release of today's article in Lancet that is also in the link. Now, that's pretty much, in my understanding, a nail in the coffin of hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine. It's entire UK. They looked at 700 hospitals and they assessed almost 1 million patients, and they showed dramatic increase in mortality with both hydroxychloroquine, chloroquine, or combination of hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin. And just to give you a quick sense of numbers, unless I already closed that, but increase in mortality was not trivial. It was very large and I'm afraid I have closed that window, but let me just open this one again and just give you a 1-minute summary. All right. So this, it's a multinational registry analysis, so it's not randomized, but when you're talking about thousands of patients, and sorry, not 1 million, 100,000, 96,032 patients that were assessed. So when hydroxychloroquine was used versus control group, mortality was 18% in hydroxychloroquine and 9% in control group. When hydroxychloroquine was combined with azithromycin, mortality went up to 24%. So that's almost a 3-fold increase in mortality compared to the baseline. The same was observed with hydroxychloroquine, 16% versus 9 and 22 versus 9. So, it's not a randomized trial, but when you're looking at this large of the analysis, this significant trend in mortality most likely real. Now, this study doesn't answer one question, and that is what happens if you combine hydroxychloroquine with zinc, which is what a lot of people claim to be the main efficacy of hydroxychloroquine, being what's called an ionophore, or helping the zinc to get inside the cells where it produces antiviral effect. Well, I think this study, there's several studies underway to address this question. The problem with hydroxychloroquine from this large analysis, it's potentially going to be hard pressed to justify utilization if the mortality is so much higher. It means that the side effects, primarily of the arrhythmia or heart irregularity, are really real, and they're not to be ignored, and they need to be seriously taken into consideration. And so anybody who's recommending blank statement either for prophylaxis or for the early in the illness outside of individual relationship with a doctor, I think that would be quite misguided. This is also very consistent with the most recent NIH guidelines of not using hydroxychloroquine outside of clinical trials. So with that, I'll open up this part for questions before I move to the integrative. And I see that there are some questions and comments. So let me take a look. Unfortunately, Dr. Brooks just announced on the news that DC area has the highest increase in cases. Yeah, that's a good point. So I on purpose decided not to talk about our area because we've been projected to actually have missed the peak a week ago or 2 weeks ago. I did see some analysis suggesting that our peak is actually going to be mid-June. I personally, and maybe we have somebody on our Zoom right now who's more sophisticated than me about this, but I personally cannot figure this out. It's a very complex epidemiologic analysis that are over my pay grade. So I'm gonna not comment on that, but I say that I agree that I don't think we're totally out of the woods. I think we need to be cautious, and I don't know if the aggressive reopening will be a smart thing or not, but again, I don't think I'm the one to comment on that.
Can you please repeat what you said about arrhythmia?
Yeah, so hydroxychloroquine has always known to cause what's called a QT prolongation. QT is a part of the EKG findings that is each interval on a heart cardiogram supposed to be in a certain range. So if a given drug begins to prolong certain parts of intervals, it may trigger deadly arrhythmias. So there's nothing surprising here. We used to think that the risk of this arrhythmias is highest in older population. Turned out that that's not actually necessarily 100% true. Even the younger population has significant risk of it. It's not very high risk, but when you're looking at thousands of patients, what we call a number needed to harm clearly is significant enough not to alter the mortality and actually make the mortality worse. So, if they looked at the mortality of their COVID patients and in control group, they had 10%, but in hydroxychloroquine 20, that means that that's a pretty significant chances of hydroxychloroquine causing problems. Now, these are not healthy people. These are people that at the time when they were administered hydroxychloroquine had the disease, COVID. So, and thank you, Elizabeth, for reposting the links. Carrie says, did that address your question about arrhythmias? Okay, all right. So I guess if there's no more questions, let me move on to the integrative aspect. And it doesn't come from any specific source. It's my own understanding, and that's what I've been recommending my patients in the last couple of weeks. So I have immediately following first couple of weeks start feeling that some parts of my body were aching more than usual. And when I start thinking through what's been going on, I quite quickly realized that I simply was not moving enough, total amount of movement. If you think about this for a second, those of us especially who are working or had ongoing activities throughout the day requiring us to go places, we were moving a lot whether we were driving there or not. So now that we're mostly in our houses, the total amount of movement had dropped quite significantly. So I have personally came up with a first recommendation for myself, tested it for a couple of days, and now I'm giving it to everybody. We have to move 2 hours a day. And the way to achieve this is the following. Don't sit for more than an hour at any given settings, or unless you're sleeping, don't lay down for more than an hour. Get up and go and move for at least 5 to 10 minutes each time. And that should be in addition to whatever your exercise routine is. So if you're routinely exercising, say 30 minutes, then you still need to do 90 more minutes of regular movement. So let me give you an example. On Tuesday, I had a 30-minute break between the patients. So I just got up and I went and chopped some wood. Okay, so I'm not advocating for chopping wood here, but I have a big pile that blocking driveway. I have a practical issue to clean that pile. But everybody else, you can just get up and go for a short walk, literally do the home chores. Any movement is a movement, whether it's washing the dishes, taking out garbage or whatever, and literally be very cognizant of those things. If you have equipment that tracks your steps, that's great. Keep aiming at 10,000 steps as usual. However, I understand that not everybody have the equipment like this. So, but you can roughly estimate the total time. If you sitting down for 45 minutes, and then you have 5 minutes to get up, that's your 5 minutes. And again, that's not 2 hours of exercise, don't get me wrong. It's 2 hours of not sitting down, laying down. It's 2 hours of movement or standing. So getting the standing desk, or rather walking desk, is quite beneficial or useful. However, I understand those are in a high demand and cannot be easily purchased. They're also not cheap, especially if you're getting the one with a treadmill. Those can be quite complicated to set up. But if you are one of those super achievers, great, go for it. And I think with that, I'll answer any more questions. Let's take another 2 minutes, maybe 1 or 2 more questions, and then we'll move to Amy's part. Is copper recommended as preventive? No. Copper is toxic and should not be taken at all internally. In fact, I tend to avoid copper in supplements as a plague due to a risk of Alzheimer's disease. However, copper is thought to be, copper and silver, thought to be antiviral as to use in the, different surfaces. I don't think it's realistic eating out of copper or silver plates. And also I would be afraid of copper, if you're eating off the copper, of some of the copper getting into your food. So I don't really see how that would be of use at all. Copper, the only reason to use copper internally would be a copper deficiency, which is quite uncommon. And then one last question. Can you talk a little about social distancing at the lake? What is safe to do if you're able to get to a lake? How do you social distance at the lake? Well, if you're in a small boat, you can't quite socially distance, but you can get 2 boats, I guess. Yeah, so remember, in nature, outdoors, the social distancing is much less applicable because the wind and air movement tend to shift things around, and thus you don't have a lot of chances. I think the indoor risk is way higher, but I would still keep to probably more than 6 feet. I think 10 feet is probably better overall distance. So I don't think I answered this question right, but I'm just surprised to hear the lake. So somebody's going to a lake, enjoy. That's great. Okay. For carry out, would you still suggest wiping containers down? No, not anymore. That's one of those things. I'd open up the carry out. I would still probably wear gloves. I would take the food out of carry out straight into the plate, throw out carry out, take off the gloves, or if you're not using gloves, wash your hands and then go eat. Yes, zinc is a good idea. We talked about zinc. Thank you, Linda, for reminding me. Everybody should be taking some zinc right now. If you're taking a very high dose of zinc, over 100 milligrams, that's when you should be taking a little bit of copper, because zinc can cause copper deficiency if taken at high dose for more than 3 months. But again, that's, I think we discussed it. Is swimming safe? Why wouldn't it be? Unless you're swimming in tandem with someone who is coughing on you. Yeah, there is no data that somehow in the water, the virus can be transmitted. It's actually clear data that it cannot be. And okay, I think on this, let's stop. Yeah. Thank you, Liz. And I remember where we stopped. Yep. We'll come back. And Amy, go ahead.
Okay, so I am going to do hypnotherapy relaxation. I think everybody will find it very relaxing for anyone who hasn't ever had hypnosis. I did it a few weeks ago. It is extremely relaxing. It's similar to guided imagery in many ways, especially this one, because I'm really just going to be kind of talking about COVID and how we're all feeling and how we can kind of relax and try to be present and feel less anxious. So I am going to turn off my video so that, because taking Misha's suggestion, I'm going to stand up while I'm doing this, which is how I usually do it. So I'm going to start talking, and in the beginning, I'm going to speak loudly, but if you can't hear me, I'm raising my computer, so I'll still be near the microphone, but please let me know. So I'd like everyone to just sit down wherever you're sitting and try to settle in a comfortable way, and just start to breathe in and out and in and out. You can breathe through your nose or your mouth, whichever feels more comfortable. Just taking deep breaths, filling your lungs, letting the air move in and out and in and out. That's good. Just breathe. And now I'd like you to just focus for a moment on your feet and on all the little tiny muscles of your toes and feet. There are many of them. And think about allowing them to relax, allowing them to just sink into the floor or whatever surface they're on. That's good. And imagine a deep sense of warmth in your feet. And now imagine that warmth moving up through your ankles and into your calves. Imagining the muscles of your calves relaxing, just letting them go. Feeling the warmth moving up into your thighs and your hamstrings. And imagine those big muscles in your legs just feel like they're just sliding practically off the bone onto the surface on which you're sitting. They're so soft and so relaxed, and you're beginning more and more to be filled with a sense of warmth and comfort. And now feeling that same feeling going up through your pelvis and into your belly. And as you breathe deeply and feel the air go in and out, just imagine your belly getting softer and softer. Feel the warmth in your belly moving up to your chest, into your shoulders and down your arms, getting into your fingers, which just like your toes have many, many muscles that are often very tight and tense. Let those muscles soften. And feel the warmth in your hands. And now feel the warmth move up into your neck. Those muscles in the back of our necks, which are often very tight, imagine those relaxing. Up through your neck, into your face. Imagine your jaw muscles just settling into a much more softened state. Unclench your jaw if it's clenched and feel how good that feels. That's good. And moving up into your eyes and the tiny muscles around your eyes, into your forehead and your scalp. We can even have tension in our scalp. Imagine that relaxing and softening. And now with your whole body relaxed, imagine yourself at the top of a long staircase. Imagine yourself walking down the stairs one at a time. And as you go down and down, you become more deeply relaxed with every step. Feeling yourself go deeper and deeper into a hypnotic trance in which your conscious mind can just step aside and your subconscious mind can be very alert, paying attention to everything I'm saying, hearing every word. Continue on down the stairs, one at a time, going deeper and deeper and deeper until you find yourself at the bottom of a long staircase in a beautiful place. It can be whatever kind of place you find to be beautiful. And in that place, you can be sitting or lying down, whatever you imagine yourself to be doing, just listening to my voice. True healing occurs when you can let your fears go and release anything and everything that isn't working towards what's your higher good. The better you feel, the more you heal. It's really very simple. Even your DNA is influenced by your thoughts and feelings, and whatever you envision in your mind directly impacts your body. So relaxing your mind with practices like these can help you develop a profound understanding of the challenges that you're facing and we're all facing as we find the courage and inspiration to get through this unusual and uncertain time. But remember that you're not helpless to influence how things turn out for you. When you take the time to look within, your body becomes measurably healthier and less stressed. Plenty of research has shown that positive thoughts have an impact on the cells in the body. So focusing on things that make you feel good can help you manage your fears, can help you manage everything in your life. And now that you're this deeply relaxed, you can determine to face all new challenges with determination and motivation and learn from the challenges. That's good. Just keep breathing. And during times like this, it's very important to just practice the pause. Nothing is permanent. The one thing we can count on is change. Whoever imagined that we would be in a time like this? We can move through difficult circumstances and stress by breathing deeply and learning how to let go. As you continue to relax, try to let your thoughts go like the clouds coming in and out of the sky, feeling the gentle pull of gravity on your body, feeling the earth beneath you offering support. One of the simplest strategies you can undertake during times like this is just to understand what you can and cannot control. And from this moment on, focus on what you can control. There are some things we can't control. We can't change how other people react, how long a pandemic will last. We can't change other people. We can't predict what might happen in the future. But from now on, it will be easier for you to focus on the things you can control. You can control how you perceive your life right now, and you can control how you react. You can follow the recommendations of the experts, as we were talking before. You can take steps to do the things that we all know we need to do to stay safe. You can also maintain a positive mental outlook, because we know that those who stay positive are better equipped to heal. Maybe you can even decrease the amount of news you watch, or if you're someone who watches too much news. Know that from this moment on, you can develop positive coping strategies and feel empowered and strong. And if you feel down, you can reach out to friends and family. You can minimize your stress. You can let go of unnecessary obligations and focus on things that make you feel good. One really good way to do that is just take a moment right now to focus on something positive. Maybe a warm or happy memory. Taking a moment to practice the pause. Just imagine in your mind that you're traveling to your own private sanctuary. This can be a safe place, a place that you go to release your fears and your doubts and feel good. As you think of this place, you might find yourself walking along a country road or wherever your place is. Maybe it's even in a city. You can hear birds singing and a cool breeze, the sunshine. It's a lovely day, and you can let everything go. Feel your feet connected to the earth, grounding you into the present moment. The sky's blue. The air is clear and sweet. And as you walk along, you notice a small building ahead of you, a perfect size for you to meditate and reflect in. This is your private sanctuary, a place you can go to rest and release your fears. You can open the door and see what's inside. It has beautiful windows and the sun shining through. You feel peaceful and balanced here. Then you can take a seat and begin breathing deeply and centering your mind, feeling comfortable and peaceful. Thinking about happy memories or funny moments, breathing deeply, feeling almost like you've taken some kind of a happy pill. You might even feel euphoric, feeling a warm rush of relaxation moving through you, feeling a lovely sense of security and peace. Subjectively, time might slow down. You'll feel like you're wrapped in a warm blanket. As you relax in this safe and secure place, your body releases chemical endorphins, feel-good chemicals, and with each deep breath, you feel a surge of pleasure. And remember that this is a place that you can come back to at any time. You just need to sit down like you're sitting now and begin to breathe and begin to imagine the scenario that you've just been through. After effects of a session like this can last for days or weeks. And the more you practice, the sooner you can get to your place of comfort and calm. You can come here as much as you need. The endorphins you're getting now are entering your bloodstream and giving you a rush, making you feel incredible, at ease, warm, relaxed. And as you focus on peaceful and happy things, your immune system is ramping up. This kind of practice does help strengthen your immune system. You're healthy and strong. Your body is smart. Your body can fend off any viruses it doesn't need. Think of this as a superpower. Focus on how good you feel. Breathe it in. Enjoy the peace and the silence. Give thanks to your body for being so strong, and thanks to your mind. You are safe and well. Every day of life is precious, and even locked in your home, you can live each day to the fullest. You can focus on pleasant things. Take one more minute to just enjoy the feeling. That's good. I'm just going to pause for a moment while you enjoy it. And now it's time to come back into this room and move on with our lives. But these suggestions are firmly embedded into your subconscious mind, where they'll grow stronger and stronger every day. And as I count from 1 to 5, you will awake feeling refreshed and invigorated. 1, drifting slowly back as if awakening from a dream. 2, your thoughts gently beginning to come back to the surface. 3, drifting back up slowly as you take a moment to remember the experience. 4, drifting up a little further, realizing you feel great. And 5, gently opening your eyes. Welcome back.
Yeah, I'm just watching something.
Thank you, Amy. This was,
You feel okay?
yeah, it's hard to come back to questions after this.
Thank you.
So how do everybody feel?
Good.
Good. See a lot of thumbs up. That's nice. Okay. All right. So we have a couple of minutes. I'm going to try to finish the questions. Let's see. I think the last one was...
There's a question about anything in addition to zinc that
and then
one can
also,
take prophylactically.
and there's also a question about mushroom tincture. Yeah, so we talked, I think weeks ago, we talked about combination of Japanese mushrooms that contain reishi, shiitake, chaga, lion's mane. So those are probably quite useful because they're generally immune boosters, and they've been studied, especially reishi has been studied quite heavily. How to take them: if you have a standard tincture, the usual dose would be a dropper full 2 or 3 times a day, but you may want to look at the label at the bottle that you have, and then use as the label suggests. There's a lot of information on other immune boosting herbs, specifically elderberry and echinacea. Again, I think those are quite safe and relatively easy to take. So if you're interested in taking them, again, I would probably advocate for tinctures. All the tinctures routinely can be combined, meaning you can take them all together, put them in a glass of water, and take it that way. And then we talked about melatonin a long time ago, anywhere from 1 to 3 milligrams as anti-inflammatory to be taken at bedtime. So I think in terms of supplements as a prophylactic, I think that's probably sufficient. The treatment would probably be quite different and very unevidenced and difficult to discuss unless it's on a very individual approach. And of course, we talked about sun exposure, the anti-inflammatory diet, exercise, etc.
What about vitamin C?
Oh yes, thank you. And vitamin C, anywhere from 1 gram to 3 grams a day. should be more than adequate. And the individual dose, I think, depends more on one's tolerability. Some people get diarrhea from even a couple of grams, and some people can tolerate dozens, if not, tens of like 20, 30 grams a day. But I don't think anybody is really needed to take that much, or unless it's specifically indicated for something. Okay, clover. Yeah, I don't really know a lot of evidence on clover. I have seen some data on it, but I don't really use it in my practice. And I don't know, maybe Lee or somebody else can comment on that, but I don't think I can. I like to use mushroom powder in my coffee. Yeah, I think that's fine. You probably need to know how much mushrooms in the powder. That's always a little bit of a tricky. The powders, unless you know exactly what they standardize to, a little harder to use. Tinctures tend to be more standardized just by the way they made. But again, even tinctures can have a very variable quality. So if the maker is quality maker and the amount is sufficient, it's probably quite good. How much to use, again, I'd need to look at the special product to give you some ideas. Mushrooms tinctures more potent than capsules. Tinctures are almost always more potent than capsules. It's a general blank statement, but just by the way it's generated. Capsules are usually, unless they specifically extracted, the capsules are usually dry frozen product or somehow else placed in the capsule, versus tincture is an extract by definition. The herbs get put in alcohol or some other method of extraction and let sit there. And so, for example, 5x tincture would means that the same tincture was used 5 times to extract same amount of herb, same time. It was used 5 times. So the more herbs were put in there again and again, and that means that it's 5 times more concentrated than original tincture. But again, there are some capsules that are high-end concentrates. So general comparison is more difficult, I would say, but on blank, like a broad stroke, I would say the tincture is usually more potent. Name of the mushroom you recommend. I don't think it's appropriate for me to give brands and specific products. I think if you want me to do that, you'd probably need to contact me individually.
I put in the chat for a couple of weeks ago, the types you had mentioned were Reiki, Shaga, and Cordyceps.
Right. Exactly. But specific products, I would rather tell people individually so we don't violate the ethics of conduct of the talks like this.
Okay. How many weeks or months would you recommend taking zinc before stopping? And do you recommend
I wouldn't
adding
stop
an extra layer of filter cloth to homemade masks?
Okay, so zinc, I wouldn't stop it at all. What I would do is after about 2 or 3 months of taking dose more than 50 milligrams, I would drop the dose to about 25, 30 milligrams. And often that amount can be found in a standard multivitamins. So you'd need to look at the label, if you're taking multivitamin, and see how much zinc is in there. We don't actually know at what point body gets oversaturated with zinc. We do know that if you take more than 100 milligrams for more than several months, the risk of copper deficiency starts to become real. So you'd need to take, if you're taking that much, you'd need to take some copper. But logistics of it get a little more complicated, and it depends on your individual metabolism. But I would say I wouldn't stop zinc right now at all, unless you're taking more than 100 milligrams. Okay, what's next, Liz? Masks from Luann?
The question on do you recommend adding an extra layer of filter cloth to homemade masks? And also, I think Luann had asked, is masking still the best defense?
I think so. I think the mask should still be worn when you're indoors or when you're in a close contact with somebody. I think we do have masks that have an additional layer I think it's a charcoal filled material. If you don't want to buy cotton masks or any kind of long-term masks that can be washed, I think the surgical masks are adequate. They are used by most healthcare practitioners right now when they're not exposed directly to known cases of COVID. In that case, people should be using N95s. The advantage of surgical masks and cotton, they're usually easier to walk with, but I would stay out of the N95 if you're moving, because they can obstruct the airflow quite a lot and then cause potential problems. I think we addressed wearing the masks outside. I don't recommend it unless you cannot avoid multiple close contacts. I don't think there's any evidence to wear masks in an open space where you don't come in close contact with people or in your own car makes any sense. So your car has air filters built in that are way more thorough than your mask is, unless you're wearing N95. And I don't think there's any reason to sort of do that. And again, if you have a passenger in a car, that changes things. I'm talking about when you're alone in a car. Thoughts on good source of reishi tinctures? Again, I feel like people keep asking me for specific products. I mean, I can give you a couple of brands that are very trusted. So Host Defense, it's a Dr. Steinman's brand, is very good. But there are multiple others. Okay, thank you, Elizabeth, for messaging the list. I think Stephen asking about how many weeks, months would you recommend taking Zinc, so I addressed that. Coffee and mushrooms. Oh, is that my interview with them? Somebody interviewed me on coffee and mushrooms. I don't know. I was semi-skeptical. It's a commercial gig. The amount of material in there was very small, but nonetheless. Okay, and so we should not wear masks outside? No. Good question. So when you're walking, let me clarify again. Outside, it means you're in the outdoors. You're not in any facility or any place. It means you're outside and you're not in close contact with people. So you're in natural settings and you're not near anyone. No reason to wear the mask. If you're outside and you're walking into the store, well, of course you should wear the mask because it's unpredictable who's going to be in the store. Even if you don't have a lot of people in the store, I would still wear the mask, again, because you don't have a control over it. When you're outdoor walking around in the park, you can easily walk away from people. It's a little harder to do if you're in between an aisles and there are people coming at you from both ends. Can't really do that unless you're Superman. So that's a good question. Thank you. And I think that's about all time we have for today, right?
It is. So just, would that include, for example, if you're outside going running or biking?
Yeah, I don't wear a mask when I'm running.
Okay.
What I do is I just run around people. So I change my path if I have to. But I feel kind of strongly that some of this activity, especially if you're quite physical, you actually could harm yourself because you're obstructing the airflow and you're rebreathing the CO2 to some extent that you're exhaling. I'm not sure it's really wise. And because the risk is so low, I don't think it's justifiable. Now, you may be in a very busy area where there's a lot of people on the streets next to you. That changes things. But if you're in a park alone, I think you can wear a mask on your neck, and then if somebody come closer, you can't avoid, you just pop it up. That's what I usually do. But you don't wear it.
Okay. Well, it's very helpful. Thank you for clarifying. And I do think we are out of time. I will hand it over to Janet, our master organizer and one person who makes this all happen every week, for our closure today. And of course, thank you all for being here, especially coming week after week. It's really, really special and very, at least for me, it's a highlight. So thank you.
JP,
Thank you for coming, everyone. We will send out the links to the videos and also a link to a new share folder that has all of the handouts and also the chat, a list of the chat. So you can hear and see, if you have not been able to see, what questions and answers are being asked in the chat. Have a good weekend. Be well. Listen to what Dr. Kogan and Dr. Kossoff says. Bye.
Okay.